These are the brand new Zipp 303S wheels that are more affordable, lighter, and apparently faster than the 302 wheels that they replace. But that doesn't seem to do them justice, because Zipp say that they've improved the overall efficiency of this wheel set to the point where the performance surpasses the classic 303 Firecrest that was launched back in 2016 and costs twice as much. Now, frankly, I wanted to know how Zipp have done it, so let me fill you in. Firstly, yes, I am still largely confined to my house, but amazingly have got my hands on some hot new tech. So thank you very much to Zipp for sending these over, and then also for patiently answering all my questions so that I can give you lot the juicy details. First up, a quick reminder of Zipp's wheel range, which spans the full spectrum of depths, from the shallow 202 series through the all-rounder 303 series, the 404, and up to the 808s and the disc wheels. Now, most depths have different models and price points at each one. So you've got the Firecrest, which is the classic Zipp with its trademark dimples, used and abused both on-road and off. The NSW, which takes performance even further. And then you had the 302, which simplified and distilled all of the carbon and aero knowledge into a more affordable wheel set. But now we have the even more affordable, lighter and faster 303S. Disc specific, happy off-road as well as on, and tubeless ready. So, what's the deal? Well, quite a lot actually. They got a new logo for a start. No, firstly, let's talk about those performance claims, shall we? So Zipp is saying that this 303S is 10 watts more efficient at 40 km an hour than this, which is their 2016 303 Firecrest. Now, leaving aside for one moment that these are faster than their more expensive brethren, I think it's also really important and interesting to note that Zipp are changing the way they're quantifying fast. And that's because Zipp say they've moved away from just wind tunnels to holistic real-world testing as well that includes not just aerodynamics, but tyre dynamics as well. Because data collection techniques have progressed to the point where you can now get accurate and repeatable results outside using an aero stick that measures wind and atmospheric data in real time. And so Zipp engineers have basically had to spend countless hours riding up and down sections of road at 40 km an hour. So how do these stack up in the wind tunnel? I don't know, and Zipp say they're not particularly fussed either, pointing instead to their real-world data that shows that they're 10 watts more efficient at 40 km an hour on a smooth road, because apparently on rough surfaces that difference balloons out even further. How? Well, Zipp have designed these to be aerodynamically optimal for 28mm wide tyres, and that's a really big part of this overall increase in efficiency, because wider tyres roll with less resistance and can also be run at lower pressures, which also increase that rolling efficiency. Now, on-the-ball viewers will note that there's less difference then between the external and the internal rim widths. And yes, you would be right, because these are hookless. Yeah. A traditional rim has a little hook at the top of the inside of the rim sidewall. But with recent developments in tyre technology, you don't need that anymore. So you can get rid of it and then gain a whole stack of advantages as a result. One of them is aerodynamics. Going hookless means there is a much smoother transition from tyre to rim, which generates less turbulence as you're cutting through the air. And then also, because that internal rim width can be wider, the tyre balloons out less over the rim, which also generates less turbulence. The rest of the rim profile has also changed accordingly. So these are the same depth as the old 302s, 45mm, but the rim is much less blunt at the nose than its Zipp predecessors. What about the weight then? They're 165 grams lighter than the 302s that came before them, which means that in total they're just 1,530 grams for the pair. Now that's 710 for the front and 820 for the rear. Now, admittedly, that's not silly light, but for a wheel of this depth, strength and price, I'd say that's pretty good going. How are they so much lighter then? Well, Zipp say through evolution of the construction process, the mould design and the carbon layup, they've been able to be more efficient with less material. One of the big steps forward has been, surprise, surprise, by going hookless. So they've been able to change the way they form the rim bed. So they say going from a soft mandrel to a metal mould, which gives more consistent compaction. So they can basically use less resin and less carbon in this part of the rim. Now, if you're worried about strength, you needn't be. I think it's fair to say that Zipp have always been risk averse when it comes to construction. In impact tests, they're as strong as their predecessors, but these also now have a lifetime impact and damage replacement policy that covers all damage while out riding. So how are they making them more affordable then? Well, these are the first carbon Zipp wheels to be made outside of the USA. SRAM, who are Zipp's parent company, have their own carbon manufacturing facility in Taiwan, and they've completely replicated the Zipp Indianapolis production process over there. But then Zipp also say that through those refinements in the construction process, like going hookless, they've been able to make it more efficient. And they also say that because they're lighter, there are simply less raw materials in here. It's not often you hear a manufacturer saying that the reason something is less expensive is because it's lighter, but high fives all round for that. Now, it's taken a while to get back to this bit, such is the amount of cool stuff that's been going on, but one of the most obvious differences with the new wheels is the new decals. Yeah, the classic Zipp logo is changing from this to this. Now, eagle-eyed viewers out there will of course have spotted this not only on the mountain bike wheels that Zipp launched last year, but also on the wheels that Team Movistar were using at the beginning of this year. Now, two final points to mention. Firstly, the hubs. Now, they have the same bearings, axle and free hub as those that have been used on the Firecrest wheels for the last few years. But here, the difference is actually in the spokes and the way they enter the hub. So these use J-bend spokes, whereas the Firecrest used straight pull spokes. Then finally, a very important note about the tyres that you use with these. So it's critical that you use tubeless ready tyres on these rims, because the higher tolerances and the stiffer bead of tubeless tyres means that they don't need that traditional hooked design to work. Now, you can of course use an inner tube in here, but you do need those tubeless ready tyres. We'll have another video for you very soon where we'll be diving into Zipp's new testing protocols, because it's a big departure for the brand, and by all accounts they've been finding out some super interesting and also super useful insights, some of which actually can already be found on their new tyre pressure calculator, which has an algorithm that's been built on all of their recent research. Now, I've had a little play, I think it's super cool, so we'll put a link to it in the description beneath this video. So that is a very quick fly through of the new 303S. They retail at just under $1,300 or just under £1,000 for the pair, making them, as I said at the start, the most affordable carbon Zipps to date. Now, make sure you let us know what you think in the comments section down below, and please give this video a big thumbs up.